So I grew up on the campus of Pearson College, which is an international college out in Machosen. My dad was a teacher there, and I think that kind of from a really young age got me going. I lived in Tanzania when I was 1 for a year. My dad did a teaching exchange, and my mom worked in an orphanage there. And then kind of, I think the value of sort of, thinking about the world as a bigger place was kind of instilled in me from a really young age that way, and it just kind of goes out that. Okay, let's try the back purple shirt.
Why did you go back to get your PhD?
So
Repeat the question.
Oh, why did I go back to get my PhD? So that's kind of a long question. I went back to do my master's because my rock band broke up and I didn't know what to do with myself. And then I worked for government, for the Ministry of Health, for a couple of years. And in the beginning, I was working on a project that was really exciting and interesting to me, and that was great. And then that project ended, and it kind of wasn't so excited anymore. And the idea of going back to school got really exciting again. So then I went back and did my PhD. So I've said I was done school about 6 times in my life, and I've always gone back.
Right here.
Yeah.
What does it take to prepare for upcoming adventures?
Prepare for upcoming adventures. Well, I think the biggest thing is being open, because you never really know what your next adventure is going to be, right? So it's about being open to choices, and when you're offered opportunities to do things, really think about, maybe this isn't something that makes me really comfortable, but yes, I'm going to do this. Or no, I'm not going to do this now, but I'm going to think about doing it later. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sahara has a question.
Great.
So you can come on. This is Sarah. Right there. This is Sarah.
Hi.
So you're going to wait and listen or respond. So she's asking,
Where can you find gardens that are accessible to people that need extra support to get to it? Well, this might actually be a better question for Justin, but I do know that there's a garden in Crofton because I do a lot of work in community-based research. And one of the projects that we worked on was a sustainable garden in Crofton that's been created that's all in raised beds so that people in wheelchairs and elderly people who can't bend over to garden are able to kind of come into this public garden and use the space and do that stuff.
awesome, thank you.
Do you have anything to add to that, Justin?
There's a great one called Spring Ridge Meadows right in Fernwood. Yeah,
Is that where also by the compost?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a permaculture garden.
right. Okay, see that,
Okay.
thank you.
Black shirt. Sorry, I'm going to call you by your shirt colors. So medical anthropology is, how many people have seen CSI or Bones or one of those kind of, so that's medical anthropology, but that's not at all what I do. I don't do the kind of the bone stuff or the investigative stuff that way. What I do is more working with community health issues and looking at sort of bigger picture health things on the ground, evaluating how health programs are working and what kind of health needs people might need at community levels.
Right here.
How is the music business?
How was the music business?
How was it? Or, well, it's really interesting getting into the music business. I mean, I played music my whole life. I played the piano, the French horn, the bassoon, and then I realized none of those instruments would really work in a rock band. I also was trained in opera singing, and then went into the rock band. The music industry is really interesting. It's really hard. I think you have to be really passionate about it to stick to it. One of the people that was in my band is still in the music industry, and he now runs his own production company and is in a couple of really successful bands. So you can do it if it's what you really love. It's a really hard industry to be in, though. Yeah.
Anybody?
Green Stripes.
What was your band name?
Big Muff. Yeah. Bunny shirt.
How do you overcome adversity?
I think you just kind of have to take that one day at a time. So I mean, the reason that's in my bio is I was born with really mild cerebral palsy on the right side of my body. So a lot of people who have cerebral palsy are a lot more affected than I am. I was really lucky. I had a really good physiotherapist and really supportive parents through my whole childhood. I kind of worked on, learning how to walk properly and that sort of stuff. And now the only thing I have to do is make sure I keep exercising and running and doing that kind of stuff. But I mean, you overcome adversity sort of one step at a time and just doing whatever it takes to get to where you need to be. Echo shirt.
What is the meaning of being a global citizen for you?
What is the meaning of being a global citizen for me? So I try to take on projects now and do work that I think will kind of lead to social change, whether it's at a really small level or at an international level. I did a bunch of research in Australia and work in Africa, and I used to kind of be working farther away from home, and lately what I've been doing now is doing more work on Vancouver Island, because I really think that being a global citizen can start at home, and you can start by doing small changes at a local level can really have big impacts.
Right here.
Yeah.
What is Burkina Faso?
Burkina Faso is a country in Eastern Africa. Yeah. Great area.
Why did you get out of the music business?
That's a really good question. It's really hard. It's really hard life being in the music business. When we were touring, we would drive ourselves. We would drive all night, every night for about 3 weeks, and we'd play a show or 2 shows every day. We lived in a school bus. It was great. It was with all my best friends in the whole entire world. We're still best friends. We got to the point where we were making enough money that we'd go on these kind of 3 or 4 week, very hard working holidays where we'd get to see amazing things, do amazing things, and we wouldn't have to pay for any of that, but we wouldn't actually come out after that having made a lot of money or any money. And so it became, we got to a point where we had to decide if what we were going to do was try to do the band and just the band, or if we were going to do something else. And all of us were also in school doing other things, so that was kind of why I got out of it. Purple shirt.
Why did you want to get a PhD?
I really love going to school and I really love learning. I also do a lot of consulting work, and from a very practical standpoint, I knew that if I had a PhD, I would make about 3 times as much money for doing exactly the same thing that I was doing before, and that was really important to me because that meant that I could then do more work for free. Because what I found is a lot of the stuff that I really love doing, I work with a lot of nonprofits, and a lot of that is kind of volunteer. So the PhD helped balance that out in terms of life. Blue shirt in the back. Yeah.
What is one of your favorite road trips?
One of my favorite road trips. We went on a amazing but horrible road trip. We were playing at shows on a Jägermeister tour down through the States, through Montana, and our bus broke down in the middle of nowhere in Montana, and it was kind of like being in a horror movie because we had no cell reception unless we hiked up to the top of a hill in the middle of the desert. There was actual tumbleweeds blowing across the road. I'd never seen like a real life tumbleweed before, like they actually exist, not just in cartoons. And we spent a night outside this little tiny like motorcycle bar. Was the only thing that was in the whole area, and they were great, wonderful people, and they really helped us. And the next day, a Mennonite from the next town came in like an old milk truck and fixed our bus for $10. But it was a really big lesson for me in kind of unexpected adventures in sort of, it was a horrible situation, but looking back on it, it's a story that we all talk about over and over again, and it really, to me, kind of showed the value of people, because these big bikers that were really kind of scary looking, you wouldn't think they'd be all into being all helpful, and they were wonderful and great and let us stay there and really helped us a lot. And then to have them be friends with this Hutterite colony next door was another kind of really weird paradox, so I think it taught me a lot. Black sweater in the back.
How are you ready for surprises?
I think it's how am I ready for surprises? I think it's kind of just you know, it's impossible to always be ready, but it's more about whenever a surprise happens, taking a deep breath and kind of figuring, okay, what am I going to do with this? Where am I going to go? How am I going to make the best of the situation? Because you can have good surprises and bad surprises, right? So, yeah, blue sweater. Yeah.
Since you're a global citizen, and this is global middle school, what does global middle school mean?
What does global middle school mean to me? I don't know, because I'd actually never heard of like global middle school until your question, so I don't really know. I guess it would mean to me, you know, that you're thinking about these kind of bigger picture, bigger world things, which I think is really important. Brown?
Like, what are your rock band?
So I sang, and I played the keyboards very badly. What I was really good at in the rock band, I realized, I mean, I can sing well, but really a lot of people can sing. But what I was really good at was managing the band, promoting the band, and booking all the tours. We did all of that on our own, and that was kind of how we were able to do what we were able to do. So I was the singer, but really what I was good at was organizing stuff. Yeah, gray sweater.
Do you think if your band kept going and was successful, you could make a lot of money off it?
I don't think so. I think that, you know, we all really like living in Victoria. It's such a tough industry. I think we could have kept going, and we could have, you know, done things like our bass player, who's currently a musician. You know, he's in 4 or 5 bands. He runs a big cover band. That's how you make a lot of money in that way. We did a reunion show, and we got to play at Ricklandia, which is the big, you know, Victoria Music Festival. So I mean, we do get to do things like that still. But you know, do I think we would have made it big and famous? I was sure that we were going to when I was in the band. Definitely, that was, you know. But now, I don't know. Maybe I don't think that's so important anymore. But it really was more for fun than we did. Yeah, in the back, the black sweater.
In the music business, what instrument do you play?
I sang.
Oh.
Gray sweater.
What does immigrant do?
So my dissertation research is with immigrant youth looking at stress. So an immigrant youth is, now this is according to my research, anyone who identifies themselves as an immigrant youth. Because you could have, my family, for example, immigrated from Scotland, but I don't consider myself an immigrant youth. I consider myself Canadian, so that's what I consider myself. You could have someone who came from China last year who considers themselves to be an immigrant youth, or you could have someone from China last year who considers themselves to be a Canadian. So my research in immigrant youth was anyone who self-defined as an immigrant between the ages of 13 and 30, so really broad. Purple shirt.
What adventure would you like to go on next?
Oh, so many. Well, the kind of next big adventure that I know we have planned, well, the big adventure that's more immediate is I want to finish my PhD and defend it and get it done. So that'll be a big adventure on its own, because it's hard to do that with a baby, I found. And, but the next big adventure that we have planned for my husband and Xander and I is we're hoping to go to Italy and Spain in kind of September and October and just do a little, because we haven't done any traveling around there, so that's just going to be fun. Black sweater, glasses.
I was told that your rock band was kind of wacky, and I wanted to know what the instruments were in it.
Kind of wacky, like instrumentation-wise?
Yeah.
No, not so much. I mean, we have 2 guitars, a bass, and drums, and then keyboards, and pretty standard.
We have one
and then
last question.
three vocals. Okay, last question. If anyone who's like really desperate. I don't know. Right there, black sweater. Oh, sorry. Wait. The attitude problem.
How much longer do you have in your PhD?
I hope that I only have like 4 months. I really hope I don't have any longer than 6 months. I was originally hoping to be done in like 2 months, so we'll kind of have to see. Xander's only just started sleeping more than 2 hours at a time last week, so I haven't really been able to think very much. in the past kind of 6 months. So now it's nice to finally feel like I might be able to actually do it.
That is it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome question, guys.